welcome back to the channel. This is video 1 of a 3-part series on the most misunderstood portion of music production, mastering. I am going to show you how to take a song that sounds like this and turn it into a song that sounds like this. In this video, we're going to cover routing, how I use reference tracks, how I get the song to master volume, which is the foundation of all mastering, and then I'm even going to show you a few of my favorite saturation plugins that I use to make songs explode out of the speakers. So let's dive in. Okay, let's super quickly get ourselves oriented. This right here, this is my mix that was sent to me by the band. This is my master track, so this mix is going to go to this master track. It's already routed across. As you can see here, output is CT, input is CT here. So this audio leaves this track, goes to this track, and then out the speakers. These other 2 tracks on the right-hand side here, these are reference tracks. These tracks I just listen to periodically throughout the session as I do my work, just to make sure that I'm on the correct roadmap. This song, Menace by Hot Water Music, this was given to me by the client as kind of like a destination point for where they're trying to go. And then this song, Kiss Kiss, I am just super familiar with. I really like the way it sounds. I use this as a reference all the time. The only problem with me using these reference tracks in this particular video is that I can't play this music on YouTube because it's copywritten. So you won't actually, when I play these back, unfortunately be able to hear them, but I will show you how I use them anyway, and then I'll link these 2 songs in the description below so that you can listen to them and hear what I'm hearing. Okay, let's go. So the first thing I'm just going to do is I'm going to listen to the track, which I haven't done yet. So let's see what it sounds like. Just going to skip ahead to the end of the song. So these 2 plugins that I'm using here, this is neither of these plugins affect the sound at all. They're simply a meter to tell me how loud it is and a real-time analyzer, an RTA, to give me a spectrum of what the song looks like in terms of what frequencies exist, where, and how loud they are. So all I'm doing, I'm going to use this meter eventually to check my master volume to see how loud my track is and get it into the right zone, and I'll show you how I do that. And then this, I'm always watching to do a number of things, make sure that my mix isn't too wide, to make sure that the mix is in phase down here, because if it's not, it won't sum to mono correctly. So I'm checking in on those things. And then the thing I'm looking at most is the overall curve of the song. So I look at that as well. So if I listen to this song here, which is the last chorus of the mix that I was sent, this is what it looks like. You know, so there's a range of frequencies here that are hot. Now let's pop across to the reference track the band sent me. I'm just going to bring that up. You won't be able to hear it, I will. But let's look at what the reference looks like and compare. So there's similar curves, which is good. It means that the mixer who mixed the song and said, I want it to sound like this Hot Water Music song, isn't out to lunch. He's in the right zone. So let's go ahead and start mastering. The first thing that I do is I get the song to master volume before I make any EQ, compression, or saturation moves. And the reason I get it to master volume first is because all of those moves are going to kind of behave differently when the music is already cranked up and loud. Things that are bright are going to become more bright. Things that are distorted are going to become more distorted. So if I were to listen to the mix at mix volume and make a bunch of EQ moves, by the time I turn it up, I might find out that those EQ moves don't actually make sense. So step number 1 is getting it to master volume level. So here's another opportunity to use the reference tracks. I'm just going to open up the Menace reference here, which is the reference the band sent me. And I'm going to look at this meter and see how loud it is. So there's 2 loudnesses to look at. On the right-hand side, we have peak loudness, which is how loud it is at any given specific moment. And then over here on the left-hand side is RMS, which is loudness measured over time. And that's kind of where you actually measure the overall loudness of your track. So this particular song is mastered right up at 0 dB, which is as loud as you can get it. And the RMS is 4.8 to negative 4.8 to -5. So this song is quite loud, and that's pretty typical of songs within this genre. So let's see, before we do any compressing or anything like that, if we can get, just using volume and my limiter here, my L2 limiter, let's see if we can get our mix to that volume. Start turning it up here. So I'm getting compression here. I don't necessarily want that, so I'm going to back that off. I use this one as just like an extra little safety compressor, but I don't really want it doing work. Okay, so we're a little louder here, so let's go back to 4.5. I'm gonna back it off to 4 because I don't actually really want it blowing up so much at this stage. But what we've done is we've gotten this mix into master range. It's comparable to the hot water music song that I was given. So now we can go ahead and go to work on it. So I'm just gonna go back to the beginning of the song now that we're at master volume and take a listen.
Sister Mary doesn't feel at home tonight. Seems her family couldn't see through objective lenses. Little Mary's gonna leave them all behind.
Okay, so all of the individual sounds in this song sound really, really good. What I feel like I'm missing is kind of like a glue feel where everything is just really, really jiving with everything else in the mix. My first impression is a tape machine is going to help me fix some of this. I'm just going to go to my Studer here, which I really, really like, and mess around with it and see if I can make it do something that I find serves the music. And that's pretty much how I work, especially in the mastering stage when you're kind of just picking flavors. I just scroll through presets, which I've said on this channel before. I'm a huge fan of presets, and I just wait for something to be right. And then I don't really second guess it. If it comes out at me in a way where I go, this made it better, then I just shut up and I leave it. So let's do that. I'm gonna skip ahead to this part here. I usually work off of the loud parts of the song because when I master, I'm pretty much pushing things as far as they can go, especially when I'm mastering within the genre. So we're gonna be right on the edge of blown up pretty much at all times. So I kind of have to work on the loudest parts of the mixes, because if I do that to a quiet part and then it gets loud later, it's going to end up blowing up too much. So we're going to listen to a loud part here. So that one's kind of fun. I'm going to keep scrolling around, but what I noticed with this headroom is that we've kind of extended the low end of the mix and gotten rid of some of the maybe muddy mid-range just by putting it through a tape machine. So let's bypass. And now throw this in. Definitely getting a low-end response out of that I think is super cool. So I'm going to tuck this away in my brain. Headroom sounds sweet, and I'm going to try a couple others. feel like it's maybe too much low end, but there was this one. Cool. I feel like that did something I like. I'm just going to leave it for now and try some other things. I usually have a multi-layered approach, so I'm just going to open up a couple different plugins and see if we can get the vibe and the bounce and the energy of the track right, and then we'll go in and do all of the kind of boring surgical EQing that's less exciting in my opinion. So let's try this Silver Bullet from Plugin Alliance. We're going to do that next. I love this. This does a similar thing to the tape machine. Where the tape machine emulates running it through a tape machine, obviously. This plugin emulates running it through different analog circuits in different different combinations. And this plugin just makes music sound more exciting. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with this that I did with the tape machine and just scroll around until something hits. Like that's blowing up a little bit too much, but how cool is that? Like just one preset later. Like okay, I like that. So that's Neve to tape. Okay, I'm going to go back to Neve to tape. It gave it a nice low-end bump that I was down for. I'm always checking back at my meter because I don't really want to get louder. I'm like really actually kind of louder than I already want to be. But if I get any louder than that, I'm going to hear things in these plugins that don't actually exist or are real because I would never send the music out that loud. And it's basically just blowing up at the limiter level. So I'm going to back the volume off a little bit here. This is something else we're going to visit a little bit later too. This is the Virtual Console Collection from Slate. It's another way to drive saturation into the mix, but it's the last plugin in my chain, and I'm just going to use it to back off a little bit of level so that we're not hitting this master quite as hard. So we're smoking it here too. Oh my gosh. Let's go at the input level. I try to work on music like this at around -6 RMS because that is loud but not blown up yet. And it allows me to hear objectively what I'm doing on the plugin side on the actual track itself. So I'm just going to check back in with Menace here and get a feel for what this feels like now that I've put a couple pieces of saturation into this mix. Okay, let's go back to this here. Okay, so this is good. You can't hear it, and I'm sorry you can't hear it. I can't play it for you, but Menace is not as bright as this track that I'm listening to here. So now I'm going to just flip open this Pro Q3 and I'm going to suck some low end out of it just with a low pass and get it a little bit closer to the reference that was sent to me. Thank you for watching. That is it for this week. If you would like to catch part 2 of the series and see the rest of the process, tune in next Wednesday for the next video. And if you got something out of this video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell all your friends about the channel. It really helps me grow. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next week.